Hi, Daksh. Yes, the recording will be shared with everyone. All participating teams, please rename yourself with your team code and your name. Anyone from your team who is left to join, please ask them to join. The speaker will be joining soon and will start the session.
थोड़ा मुझे जानकारी नहीं, इसकी जानकारी तुमसे लेना चाह रहा हूँ।
Vivan, please mute yourself and rename yourself as well. It's a reminder to all the participating teams. In case you will not rename yourself, we won't be able to mark your attendance and we won't be able to have you here. This workshop is specifically for the participating teams, so anyone who has not renamed them won't be a part of this workshop. Good evening, Sanjeev sir. Khushi, you can start. Khushi and Manya, you can start marking the attendance of the teams. Gitesh, please rename yourself with your team code. The one with 983842. All OC members to rename with the format of their name and then dash team tag. Neeti Tiwari, please rename yourself. Swayam Kaushik. Nidhi Yadav, please rename yourself as first your team code, then your name. I can see multiple students in the waiting room. If any of your team members are there in the waiting room, please ask them to join in at ASAP. We have to start very shortly. Pratiksha, floor is now yours.
Hello. Yes.
Yes, Pratiksha, please start.
We shall start, ma'am.
Yes.
So, hello everyone, and we are thrilled to welcome you to the very first edition of Taac 2025, a bold, practice-driven initiative by GRF in collaboration with the Faculty of Law, SGT University, Haryana. This isn't just the beginning of a workshop, but this is a launch of a powerful new platform, TAAC, the ADR Advocacy Competition, which is designed to transform the way future lawyers and dispute resolution professionals engage with the real world of ADR. Taac is India's first of its kind structured hands on learning competition crafted to bridge the gap between theory and practice. Over the next 3 months, we'll move through an exciting and immersive journey that mirrors real life processes in institutional ADR, step by step and stage by stage. I'll just quickly take you through the roadmap of the stages. The first is deal negotiation and agreement drafting. That's where we start today. Second, client counseling. Third, mediation and negotiation. Fourth, arbitration proceedings. Fifth, advanced arbitral proceedings. And last but not the least, award writing and enforcement mechanism. Today's session kicks off stage one, where we'll get hands on with one of the most crucial skills in any legal professional's toolkit: negotiating deals and drafting negotiations. This session is your launch pad into the competition and a chance to begin thinking, acting, and building like real dispute resolution specialists. And it doesn't end here. After the workshop, we'll move into a live debriefing session. Can you please mute yourself? Okay. So this workshop won't be the end of the session. After the workshop, we'll move into a live debriefing session where all the participants will have the opportunity to choose their mentors through a WhatsApp-based live mentor pool, which is a unique opportunity to connect with the industry experts who will guide and support you through the rest of the competition. So get ready to negotiate, collaborate, compete, and the most important, grow. So welcome to Taac 2025, everyone. Let's make this unforgettable. So with that, let me allow to introduce to Mr. Sanjeev Ahuja, a renowned conflict manager, mediator, and negotiator with a career that spans across legal advisory, corporate strategy, and complex negotiation scenarios. With an LLB from Delhi University and Chartered Accountant certificate, Mr. Sanjeev Ahuja brings a unique and invaluable perspective to the world of contract and negotiations. Throughout his distinguished career, Sir has advised top tier companies like BMW, Coca-Cola, and BlaBlaCar on strategic negotiations, public policy, and drafting agreements that not only safeguards the interest of all parties but also pave the way for successful and sustainable partnerships. He is a member of Indian Council of Arbitration and has served on various advisory panels, including those at the Ministry of Commerce, PhD Chambers of Commerce and Industry, and several prestigious arbitration bodies. His ability to navigate the complexities of corporate negotiations, mergers, acquisitions, and dispute resolution is widely recognized. Today's workshop will be a deep dive into the critical aspect of deal negotiation and contract drafting, which is an essential skill for every legal and business professional. With Sir's extensive experience in corporate strategy and dispute resolution, you are sure to gain insights into the practical aspects and structuring deals, drafting watertight agreements, and managing high stake negotiations. So, without further delay, let's dive into today's session. And please join me, everyone, to welcome Sir. So, very warm welcome, Sir.
Okay, very good afternoon. Am I audible and now visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is the voice quality clear enough?
Yes, sir.
Because, normally it's less of usage of this laptop, sitting in office on a weekday is different. So I just wanted to be comfortable with, the technicalities and the logistics. So if you're able to hear me nicely, then I think, yes, we should get started. So thanks for the, warm introduction. I think you said a bit too much. I don't know whether all of that was true, but must have been available in some of my CVs and profiles. But yes, so friends, been there now for almost 30 years plus as a career, which has been part of being part of the corporate world to start with, and then as a CA, and then eventually doing my law as part of my second innings. Been helping corporates, promoters, entrepreneurs on negotiation and contract drafting. And of course, we'll take a deep dive into these two aspects, which are very important. So I just take a step away and thank Saurav and Daisy and Pratiksha, all these people who are the team GRF. They're doing a wonderful job. It's a great initiative, uh, and it's just as simple sharing of knowledge, being on the same platform, trying to understand what exactly are the changes, how one should be mindful of the dynamic situation, the volatile situation we all live in. So on one side, we talk about contracts to try and reduce our understanding on a piece of paper. But then how in practical world these contracts have as much meaning, only as much control as we think, I mean, or maybe less. So what kind of suggestions or views should be shared with you, so that tomorrow, once you have the contract, once you've negotiated, it should not happen 6 months or few years down the line, you suddenly start thinking could have been better. So, what all we need to be presuming, assuming, perceiving, uh, have that preemption, the skill of preemption, the skill of seeing through, uh, the skill of communication. And communication, when I say, is just not speaking, it's hearing as well, listening, right? So much beyond than the normal connotation we have for these words. So all that we'll try to cover during our discussions. So this again, I say, a great initiative, and I'm happy to be part of that. Now, since uh, all this has happened, frankly, in last 24 hours, when I was told that this should be shared with you, uh, it's not that much of preparation was required, because a lot which I'm going to share with you is about the experience, about the learning on the ground, and also happy to make it interactive, so that just in case any of you feel that this is inconsistent to what you otherwise thought or has been told earlier, right? Allow me an opportunity to address that query as well. So what we can do is, on one side, yes, initial some 10-15 minutes, I would want to share my views. And then after that, during my conversation, if you have some queries, you can note them down. In any case, I'm told we'll have a Q&A session later. And then we can also link it to the case study which has been shared with you. Because normally what happens, if you have a use case, it just becomes a bit more objective, the entire discussion, right? And then we can try and link it, if there are two parties, and what are their requirements, what are their apprehensions, right? They sit with their own team, they sit with their own advisors, they sit with their own lawyers, counsels, right? So you are not up against a particular person, you are up against the entire team. The entire team is one side, they are trying to do the best for themselves, you are trying to do the best for your own clients. So when negotiations happen, scenario will be slightly different. When mediation happens, scenario slightly different. So I think all those points we'll try and cover. And again, a repetition that just note down in case you have any queries. So the moment I'm done with my initial phase, you can raise a hand. We can probably address the query there and then, or it can be part of Q&A, whichever way. Okay. So we'll also keep linking because I have some sense of the case which has been given about two companies. One is a content creator. Possessor of the content, the other one is a OTT platform, someone like that. So what exactly would their objectives be? Because at the end, let's be clear, this is a commercial negotiation, right? That's very important. Now negotiations happen all across. We all negotiate during the day, every day. You negotiate with the auto wala at times, with the rickshaw. Of course, you can't negotiate with a fixed price contract like a metro. So if they put a price to your ticket or to the pass and you can't do anything, you'll have to take it or leave it. But the moment you need a auto rickshaw for the last mile connectivity or to reach to a metro station, you say, "Bhaiya, 100 nahi, 50 le lo, 80 le lo." So that is nothing but a negotiation. That's the very ground, the basic negotiation which we kind of come across on every single day. There is a negotiation with your parents. मुझे तो I mean are we good like थोड़ा बहुत हिंदी बीच में चले unless until people have issue with the language or something. I just wanted to make it like a bit easy to understand. So we all have, so my daughter is going to be starting her college, and she says how much pocket money I'll have. So I said, I gave her a number. No, no, itna to kam hai. I've checked in my groups, this is like, ye kharcha, wo kharcha. So it should be higher. And then when I kind of tried to reason out, she gave me example of a brother. So I said, well, situations are different. Okay, needs are different, mode of transport would be different, right? Going to a college nearby versus going to a college far off, right? So many ifs and buts, many components. Exactly the way if you would do a commercial negotiation between two businesses, whether they are individuals or partnership from a company, whatever it might be, both will have commercial objectives. At the end, the very fact you are negotiating is to get more value out of a transaction. We all agree? What exactly is a negotiation? There is a certain value. Whether the value is available right now to be seen, okay, to be assessed, it's there on the table. Whether totally you know or not, totally visible or not, okay, and maybe together, when two parties get together, there is a possibility of creating value as well. Right? I mean, is that clear? So there is something given, right? So there is someone who has a property and there's someone who has to buy, okay? Or for example, a builder and a landowner, okay? Let me take this example. So there's a builder whose wherewithal is, whose skill set is that, I have the team, I know my stuff. So if you give me the land, I'll be able to create a building, and then like we'll be able to sell it. Right? Now, should I buy it outright? Should I take it on lease? Should I make it commercial? Should that be residential? That's one bit. It'll throw up many competition combinations. On the other hand, the other person is the landowner. Now, for him, it might be that he already has a permission for residential, or he has a permission for a hotel, he has a permission for a hospital, he wants a typical flats, he wants a school. So then does he have the license? Not. Those are one set of questions. Other thing will be there'll be a wish that I have a barren piece of land, probably I can convert it to a non-agricultural piece and get the required permissions and then get into an arrangement because I need a commercial setup there. So there is existing value in terms of the land on one side, and there's a skill set on the other. So one level of negotiation would be how much value should I put to the land whenever they are trying to do any kind of a transaction. That's one. So the reason I'm starting with this, otherwise a basic example, you'll be able to relate. And second thing, there's very important element which I have to bring to the fore, which is existence of a value already available versus the value which gets created over the period. Again, it depends on the kind of arrangement that, the profile of the parties were getting together. So, but what can happen is there's a value of land, and then eventually when you construct on that piece of land, you are creating value. So how do you distribute that versus what value you put to the land, which is an asset, which comes as a contribution from one of the parties day one. So this simple example has been taken to get started with something called a concept of deal negotiation. So a deal is a transaction between two parties or more than two parties, where it can be a buying, selling, it can be a joint venture, right? It can be a merger acquisition transaction, it can be just about anything. Again, the example which I took, I have something, somebody else can make better use of this arrangement, this asset, which I have, why not? A deal is also a simple deal, also that you are a owner of a flat or an apartment and you are wanting to let it out. Okay. So who's the opposite party? A potential tenant. I'm calling the other party as a potential tenant till the time he or she has not got into an agreement called a lease agreement with you. So that point in time, that person from being a potential becomes a real tenant. But that deal is called a lease agreement. Somebody has to let out, somebody needs the place. Somebody's a landlord, somebody's a tenant, somebody's a lessor, somebody's a lessee. Are we saying there'll be a negotiation there as well? Answer is yes. At the end, what exactly is this? A simple combination of demand and supply. Somebody has a need, which is called a demand. The need gets converted to a demand. And then somebody has an asset or an option, or we should say the supply side of it. So when these two parties combine, and we are keeping it simple for now because the discussion is around the deal negotiations, we don't complicate. There can be more than one or more than two parties in a transaction, then one has to deal with the situation accordingly. We are keeping it simple. So a supply side or a giver, a demand side, the person who has a need or a taker. These two parties want to get into an arrangement, a deal, a transaction, which then now requires a negotiation because there's a commercial angle to it, right? So if the demand is high and the supply is low, what exactly would happen? The prices will go up, which means, I mean, have we also heard buyer's market and seller's market at times? Some of you might have heard that, right? Essentially what happens, so for example, if I again take a simple example of real estate. So real estate is a cyclical market. What happens, there are always highs and lows. There'll be a situation where there'll be a lot of supply, many flats, many apartments with the builders have built up over the period, and suddenly there is a glut in the market in the sense there are no takers. So when I say, so okay, somebody can come back and say, why did they make it? So there is always a presumption, India rising, more people migrating from tier 2, tier 3 cities to metros. So, we could see the influx 2%, 3%. Couple of years down the line, there'll be more people, a new city has been established. Gurgaon is expanding, not as expanding. So we'll have more people. So there's this presumption, rightly in a way, because all this is nothing but planning as well, right? So presumptions, ability to see through, visualization, and you preempt and you create. So you've created more. So that means not everything was sold upfront. Some money was put in by the builder, developer himself, herself. And what happens because of situations like COVID, generally a depression in the market, some force majeure situations, suddenly the migration didn't happen the way we thought. So this is a gap. More supply, less demand, the prices will have to take a beating. Those negotiations, right? Those negotiations will be in the favor of the buyers. So it will be termed as a buyer's market. That means buyer is deciding that I have too many options, I'll negotiate hard. So the balance of convenience shifts towards the buyer. Very important aspect in a negotiation. Now, most of you, if you've already done some theoretical, I mean, some studies, uh, when we go deeper into a concept of negotiation or mediation, have you come across terms like Batna and Vatna, right? So best alternative to a negotiated agreement, worst alternative, then real stick, real alternative. That is nothing but options you have. If not this, then what? Okay. So in a buyer's market, the buyer gets to choose from options more than what he wants. So he can always say, well, if you can bring down the price, I'll think. Now just flip it. Suddenly there's a migration, there is some new policy, something happens, a lot of demand, the availability of flats is not much. Suddenly what happens? The market shifts towards to the developer, to the builder. What he gets is a potential holding gain. He's been sitting on some apartments which were vacant for a while, and suddenly now there are many people coming after. And also what happens? Again, a real life example, Noida, Gurgaon, they saw a lot of jump in the prices recently, last couple of years. So more and more people want to come. So the previous societies which were there, if you have flats there, if there are people living, depending on the exact location, park facing, main road, mall facing, whatever it might be, and suddenly people have jacked up the prices. What people do? They move out. They say, okay, we are okay to encash to monetize a high value asset and move to something a bit far, probably at a half the cost. So we are able to extract some benefit value and then use a part of it, and again, we have a home to stay. The reason I'm giving this example is very important to go into the mindset of your client, assuming that we have lawyers sitting here or even consultants who tomorrow have to be part of negotiation sessions or contract drafting. Unless until you know what is the objective, what is the ask, what is the need, and please understand, ask as in the need, then the interest, then the wants. Though these are terms which you normally use in mediation, but it will be nice to be aware of these terms even only for negotiation. More you understand about the client, because you are part of that. And we all understand the basic difference between mediation and negotiation, because mediation is a assisted negotiation. We agree, right? So all I'm taking out away is the word assisted. Because when we say assisted negotiation, we need assistance of a third party called a neutral, impartial, a person called a mediator. So if I remove that guy, that means what is left is negotiation. Now, negotiation is between the two parties or groups. One side has the client, the beneficiary, his, her consultant, his, her counsel, his, her advisor, his, her negotiator. One side. They'll do whatever is possible on earth to say that this is what we want, this is the way it should be done, these are the clauses. Exactly the opposite at times of the other side. Now, at times when the clauses are inconsistent, or you can't have a 6 and 9 together, in the sense that what you see as 6, the other person sees as 9, what his or her requirement is inconsistent, or both the things cannot be achievable. That is where negotiation starts. So somebody has to let go of something. Negotiation is trying to extract maximum value of what is available, visible, and what can be created. Something which can be created is, of course, a going forward scenario, something which will happen. So it's a potential value. But your negotiation has to be very effective in terms of being able to see through. We have seen situations where only the value which was visible on the table on a given day was the subject matter of discussion. The problem started when two parties started walking together as part of the journey, and more value was created. Who gets what? Very important. right? So the IPR part of it, for example, one is existing content. What about something which will get created after we shake hands, after we join? So do we see the difference? So once you are sitting for a deal negotiation, right? A deal, I have told you, is nothing but a transaction. Transaction can have any shape, size, design, format. But negotiation is something where you should be able to extract maximum value. Now, when I say maximum value again, in mediation, we say win-win situation. But in mediation, we're slightly cautious. We say maximum benefit for our client because we are on one side of it. And when we are on one side of it, it does not mean that you want to shortchange the other side or you want to be unfair or unreasonable. Reason being, it's a matter of time. You might be smart today. You might have somehow sneaked in a particular clause which you think tomorrow you can take the benefit of. Matter of time. The day the contract is challenged, the agreement is challenged, the fairness will be visible. What if the other party reads it, refers to it sometime later, and it dawns on him and her that I have been shortchanged? Don't you think the change in this entire perception of you as a partner would take a hit? So negotiation does not mean that you should take entire value of the maximum when the other party is not aware of it. Rather, what it means is it should be done in such a way that you maximize, first of all, first objective of a very effective good negotiation is eh, use the value. Don't leave any value on the table. There are situations where at times there's a value which is ignored by both sides, right? What would happen if when we start doing this and we can monetize this particular aspect, of course, depending on the typical business scenario or the transactions or what can happen basis the policy in that business stream tomorrow. I mean, we can go deeper, but again, looking at the time, I would just want to give you a flair of what exactly I'm trying to say. First objective of a good negotiation, effective negotiation is whatever value you, other side, everyone has been able to evaluate, assess. You should be able to use it for the benefit. So somebody should be benefiting out of the value available or possible, right? That's one. Second thing is, frankly, and I mean it, in the long term, we have seen, do not make an attempt to shortchange anyone. You are getting into a relationship. Negotiation, a deal negotiation is, yes, it's an agreement. It has to lead to an agreement where all the terms, conditions have to be reduced in writing, which eventually is nothing but a contract which gets drafted. But if somebody is unclear, unsure, and tomorrow they feel that there is apparently they've been kind of cheated, misled, misrepresented in a way, whichever way, or not all the facts were brought out during the negotiation, it leaves a bad and a sour taste. And when that happens, you are actually starting on a very wrong note. And this leads to a problem, almost a sure problem, matter of time. Whether that would be during the course of the relationship or when things take a back turn. On the contrary, if the negotiation has been fair, reasonable, the way people say justice should not only be delivered, it should be seen to be delivered, seen to be done, right? Something very similar. Negotiation does not mean that somebody else, the other side, is in awe of you. You are, amazing personality, a big office, whatever you do, and you say, okay, guys, I mean business. These are the clauses you'll have to put irrespective, whatever. So love it or leave it types. Doesn't work. Negotiation, the good part of negotiation is let us not waste the value which is possible through a transaction, existing or potential. So if we understand this, if we are able to absorb the concept, we'll do a good job, we'll be fair, we'll be reasonable, we'll be ethical, we'll be, adhering to the moral standards and all. And it'll be a good start, a good bonding. So what happens tomorrow when things do not work the way we expect them to? We're all in a VUCA world, right? Volatile, uncertain, complicated, ambiguous, all that. When things are beyond control, force majeure situations, the COVIDs of, the coronas happen and whatever, people still continue because they started on a very good bonding, on a good start. So then a bit of give and take, though this is part of the contract drafting, but somewhere I'm linking it. If you've done the negotiation in a reasonable manner, your objectives are met. You've made yourself comfortable, your client comfortable, of course, and you made the other party comfortable. So if the 100 is a value, whether it's a 60-40, it's a 80-20, or a 50-50, whatever it might be at the end, if you were to quantify, both the parties should be happy. And 80-20 is not against them. It depends. That is only the value they deserve because that's what the input is. The rest is to you. Absolutely okay. But it should be fair, transparent, consistent, recorded. If you're taking care of all these things, and then of course reducing into an agreement, a contract, then it serves much longer. And since there is a good bonding, enough fairness, transparent, everything, tomorrow something like shakes up in the business scenario. I'm telling you, both these parties will continue to walk side by side. And they say, yes, it makes sense. We have traveled so far because there's no doubt. Nobody feels cheated, shortchanged, So negotiation of a deal has some important aspects. Being with the client, understanding the objective, understanding the background, understanding the business, understanding the nuances, understanding the strength and the weakness, very, very important. You are there on the negotiation seat only because of a brand. But in terms of, it's more of a form, less of a substance. You're struggling on capabilities or competencies, or your people have left you in between, but your brand is strong. It's a matter of time, it will be exposed. So constraints, the strength, the weaknesses, the challenges, all of them have to be considered apart from the wish, apart from the dream, apart from what if I could get this as well. Look, everyone wants moon, right? Everyone. So everyone would say, I'm the best. I should get everything. I should pick up the entire value. That is not the way it works. The very fact that you're getting into an arrangement, a joint venture, a relationship with someone, both the sides should get what they deserve. That's the reason I'm saying it's not 50-50 by default. It can just be anything till the time the fairness, transparency, and consistency continues to be adopted here. So that was one part. Let's link it to the contract creation. So negotiation means you've agreed to something, right? Now you need to reduce it in as many words so that it's not open to many interpretations going forward. That should be an attempt. How do you do it? The more the clarity you have, better it is for you to reduce in as many words. One suggestion would be try and make it as simple as possible. A simple English always would be, not misunderstood much. So, I mean, apologies to Mr. Shashi Tharoor at this stage, but when we try, to be a Mr. Tharoor at a point in time, what happens on a given day when we have a problem? Then the third party, the authority, the judge, also should be at that level to understand and link that terminology. So the connotation of a word used in a different context, in a different clause, can probably play havoc. So one suggestion, again, just purely from my experience, much easier for you to defend your contract, your clause, your arguments basis simple English, nicely written, well understood. So it's just not you and me. Give it to any third party, and they'll also give the same connotation, same interpretation like you and me. That is the way it should be. Then reading it again and again, as in at least twice. So review and revision is very important. All this is with the assumption that you understood the objective nicely. you understood the purpose of it, nicely. There are timelines, there are parties which are involved. Okay. There are business nuances, there are legal requirements, right? Tomorrow, the agreement, the contract you create has to be enforceable. First of all, it should be legal document. A legal document means it should be adhering to the law of land. Now, there are two set of laws, procedural and substantive. Okay? And just to spend another minute here. So you are talking about a business transaction, right? So tomorrow property will be created, so transfer of property, a sale of goods, a GST, a income tax, right? So your none of your agreements, contract should have anything inconsistent with these laws. But the moment you are talking about specific business, if it's a hospital, healthcare industry, a pharma, a FMCG, a infra, there'll be different kind of laws applicable basis the vertical you're talking about. Those are specific business nuances and business laws applicable. So two set of laws should be complied with. Then there is a technical aspect. So the moment we get into and say that, okay, let's create a contract, you might be a good lawyer, but you may or may not be very well versed with numbers, right? You might be good at numbers. You may not be well versed with the technicalities involved in a creation, setting up a hospital, right? A contract for example, a road or infrastructure works very differently. There is a proportionate revenue which has to be taken. There's a proportionate expenses which have to be taken. Not every time there is a cutoff date. A lot of stuff is work in progress. There's an inventory. There's a valuation, right? So many different nuances, whether it's accounting or legal. And then somebody might say that, only for the benefit of a simple example, again, in real estate, there are two types of models at times. You take property as a fixed asset and then you sell. It leads to a capital gains. So it's a capital asset. But if there's a builder, for him, creation of flats, production of flats is an inventory, right? Inventory leads to income. That's his regular bread and butter. Now you get the profit both ways. Capital gains is also profit. Buy something for 10, sell for 12, you get 2 rupees extra. Similarly, you made something as an inventory, you produce something for 10, you sell it for 12, you again make 2. So profit or loss is separate, but I'm saying even those specific requirements might require a certain clause to be added, deleted, or to be ensured that two different clauses trying to please two sides basis the negotiation are now in contradiction to each other. They are inconsistent. Somebody wants a fixed price, for example, some kind of a return, and somebody says, I can give you as a percentage because I don't know how much. So I am not sure about the absolute number. You want a lakh rupee per month for ABCDs and a royalty, for example, a lease, a rental, whatever advisory. And the other person say, let us earn. You take a certain percentage. The benefit is we earn, there's a revenue, there's a cash flow, more than happy to give it to you. But if you take an X amount every month because of the contract, which is a fixed liability for me, suddenly what will happen in a given month, if you do not make enough, I still have to pay you, otherwise I'm in default. So there's a violation. So knowing the requirements, ensuring that the clauses you put are not inconsistent with each other. So there's a lot of stuff together we have to be very wise about. So if I were to put a very broader kind of sequence, I kind of made a small note. Let me see if I have it here. Okay, so it's kind of also summing up in a manner of contract drafting. Your objectives should be clear. So once you are, and what are the objectives? The purpose, right? The timelines, the obligations of the parties, how many parties are involved, how many parties would be signatory to the particular agreement contract, what about the terminations, what about the confidentiality clause, what about the non-disclosure, what about the consideration. the numbers I was talking about. Consideration, very important. Then, what else? Okay, we spoke about the laws of land procedural and substantive. Then we talked about risk management. What if this doesn't happen? What about now with Corona's experience at the back of our mind? How do we take care of the force majeure? Now, Corona was something where everyone was wrong, but nobody did any wrong. What do? The simple example again, the tenant and landlord. Tenant says, I'm not getting my salary, I can't pay you rent. And the landlord say, basis your rental, I was actually living my day. So when people came to us, we said, let's talk and resolve. They said, no, there's a contract. I said, fair enough. Contract was there, but we together need to sit and figure out an option. Eventually, frankly, at the end, even Supreme Court had to say that the tenant-landlord disputes have to be settled through a dialogue. And that's exactly what it is. So yes, a dialogue also requires a negotiation. Somebody might say, okay, pay me 50% now, and a bit later, I'm okay, I won't charge you interest. I won't charge you any other penalty. I won't increase rental next time. And this guy says, no, take 40, and the rest of the conditions are okay. So there is a negotiation involved there as well. But these risk management factors and the clauses have to be also inbuilt. The legal compliance we've spoken about, the conflict avoidance, we should speak definitely nothing but on one side, we should minimize the risk. We should ensure clauses which would prevent the problems, the disputes, the conflicts, which means one is the best simple language, clear communication, consistency. And on the other side, in case, God forbid, situations arise, then what are the curative steps? Do we start with adversarial? No. We start with non-adversarial. We start with a simple dialogue. We then go to negotiation. We go to mediation. Then we say ADR but adversarial, which is arbitration. And finally, litigation, go to the court. So putting up the right jurisdictions, right? Even in arbitration, putting up the venue and the seat and the language and everything. Of course, enforceability and everything is all connected. Then, as I said, review and revise to the extent and have flexibility. Tomorrow things may not turn out the way we think so, because 1 year, 2 year, 10 year down the line, it's very difficult to preempt what will happen. So some flexibility should be inbuilt. So more or less this conflicting clauses, I said, we should try and avoid, because that is how you figure out through a review and revision that any clauses which are inconsistent, they should be picked out immediately. No inconsistencies can be allowed. So that is my broader, take on negotiation, deal negotiation, and of course, resulting into a drafting of a contract. I'll just take a minute more, which is you might hear in different forums a concept called a deal mediation. So a deal mediation is slightly different from a deal negotiation. Negotiation is a simple thing, the way I explained, and a deal mediation again happens at the time when the agreements are happening. And essentially what we are saying is, rather than two sides fighting over different clauses from each other's side, the mediator said they understand what is the need of the hour, they make them agree, and only one agreement is made with all the clauses already understood. So just in case somebody hears about deal mediation, slightly different context. But with regards to mediation, deal negotiation and contract drafting, this is what I wanted to share. If more, something which is left out, you want me to elaborate, clarify, happy to do that. But more or less, I think this is what I thought should be good. So yes, Daisy, anything else?
Thank you so much, sir, for this insightful session. Meanwhile, Pratiksha will summarize what you have covered in this session. In that point in time, I would request all the teams who are present here, in case you have any question, please write it down in the chat box. Writing in the chat box is mandatory. One by one, we'll take all the question. Pratiksha, over to you. Please summarize, and then we'll start with the questions.
Thank you, ma'am. And thank you so much, sir, for being so thorough with your explanation. It was really amazing how you explained every aspect of it. And it was very enriching for me. And I guess I'm saying this on behalf of every participant and every OC member who is present.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So basically, what we have gone through today was deal negotiation and contract drafting. From what I could summarize and what exactly sir has said is there are two things we need to make sure when we are in the process of negotiating. That is, we need to use the entire value of the subject matter of the negotiation, and we need to make sure that we do not miss out any value, and we need to make sure that somebody being it the party of the negotiation, has to have the benefit from the negotiation. And secondly, we also got into the part of that we do not have to be cunning here, and we need to make sure that all the parties to the negotiation are getting the benefit out of it. This not only makes sure that your connection is long running, but it also sustains the or you can say overcome the uncertainties of situation that maybe like specifically that we talked about was corona, but there are many more uncertain circumstances and situations that might take place. So one needs to make sure that you do not attempt to shortcomes the another party in the negotiation. Then we move forward to contract drafting, and there sir was very thorough with all the things we need to make sure and we need to keep in mind while we are drafting, as well as we are in the process of negotiating the contract. So first of all, you need to make sure that you write down the negotiation, so that it has the least room of interpretation, we can say. You need to make sure that the contract is in a very simple language. You don't have to put in very extensive English words, so that it is not it is like fully open for interpretations. And you need to make sure that the third party, not only the parties to the agreement or the parties to the negotiation or contract, is in a position to understand it, but also the third party, or even when there is a conflict, then the judges or anyone who is in between the process need understands the entire process. Then we also made sure that we have to significantly go through the process of review and revision. There has to be simultaneous review and as well as revisions to the contract. And we also have to make sure that we comply with the substantive and procedural law of the land, and be it a broader aspect of that law, or if we are dealing with a particular field, then that particular field of the law we need to make sure that we have in the mind. Also, we need to make sure that the objective is clear. Whenever we are drafting a contract or whenever we are in a process of negotiation, we need to make sure what is the objective we have to reach on when we are dealing. Also, we have to have a clause for risk management in case something happens. How are we supposed to proceed forward with? And we have to make it preventive of any conflict, as well as we have to make sure that there is flexibility. So I guess I have summed up the entire thing sir has said. And thank you so much, sir. It was really, really interesting.
So I'll just take a minute, just to add. I mean, you summed up pretty well. So with regards to taking or extracting the entire value, or covering the entire value, the reason why I say so and I emphasize, if something is left which has not been taken care of, so so there is certain benefits which might accrue, right, or which are there. Now you forgot, I forgot, as the other side and the side. Eventually, it comes out to the fore. You again will have to sit across and figure out, and nobody would want to let go of that. So that's a beginning of a kind of a discussion which probably could have been avoided. And now once you are already into a relationship, you say, no, this particular should come to me, you should have taken it earlier, those kind of things. It gets avoided. So that's one. And with regards to specific laws, so if you're talking the real estate transaction, for example, so apart from the normal applicable laws of the land, the reference to RERA, adherence to RERA, for example, will be very crucial. Talk about, healthcare industry, pharma industry, right? So you'll have to be bound by Indian Medical Association, or if there's something else, pharma industry, other norms. So immediately you have to have the generic laws, then the specific laws. So this is one on the risk management. It's important. Something goes wrong. You've done a joint venture. You're working for a government. There's a contract involved. Something. If there is a problem, who takes what responsibility and how? There should be a level one. There should be escalation. Now, and and the best is sit in those sessions with a very cool, calm mind. Don't be in a haste. These are agreements which are only to be used when things go wrong. Let me tell you. And when they go wrong, then everyone takes a lens and runs through each and every clause. Every comma which has been put after a word can change the very meaning, right? So that's the reason. Very important to be sitting with a calm mind, not in a haste. You can't be running a like negotiating, right? Otherwise, there's another a damage, collateral damage, I would say. In a rush, in a haste, you would not be able to identify the value which I keep talking about. So if somebody else is willing to let go of that because of lack of competence or whatever, then be smart to pick it up. Nicely worded, because then you've been otherwise fair. So those are the things again, like just thought to reiterate it. But yes, otherwise absolutely. Good.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Thank you so much. So now, Daisy ma'am, we can go forward with the question and answer round, right?
Yes, sir. So far I can see two questions in the chat box. I'll ask the participant to raise their hand. Meanwhile, I'll read out the question as well. So Daksh Raz has a question. So what, according to you, are the common mistakes the parties make and how can we take care of it? Also, do you have any tips for the participant should take care of during the competition?
Okay. So the second question first. Competitions are essentially the learning grounds, right? There are the stakes are relatively lower, but in the real world, you'll be playing with probably real money. So more important is be open to commit a mistake because that learning will probably stay with you for long. So you can't take care of everything, but you be honest with the approach. You've been given a certain case study, you've given certain background, go through it again, like sit with yourself, run through, visualize what should I do, make notes. Again, very important. Look, you can think whatever. The moment you start talking, the moment you start articulating, there'll be some clarity. And the next level of clarity comes when you take a pen and put it on paper. So when you are alone and you are running through it once, twice you've read, then of course you won't be talking to yourself. But from your, whatever goes into your head, directly try and put it on a paper. What potential questions should be answered? If I do this, what can the other party do? Those kind of things will help you to be as close to a real life situation. So that's a very good simulation. Competitions should be used to try it out. It's not that you need to be perfect day one. You might be good at one part. You might have missed something else, and you're like, no, opponent might pick up that particular part. That's okay. But before you come to the real life, in real life situations, you do not get a second chance at times. Most of the times, right? You've gone into an agreement, you've signed something, you've done a negotiation, and come back, oh shit, I missed out this. But you lost the bus. The bus is moved on. Right? Then you can't go back and say, sorry, there's something left. So sitting with a very calm mind, important. Procedural, substantive, important. And what else? Yeah, more or less, I think this is what it is. So with regards to competition, okay, the first part was what kind of mistakes normally people do. Okay, the kind of team what is required. Normally, again, a misconception. All I need is me, if I'm a business guy, if I'm getting an agreement contract, and my lawyer, or me and my chartered accountant, me and my advisor, right? I think when we are wanting to do a holistic negotiation, then there are certain important uh, people who should be, or stakeholders who should be part of the team. You cannot, should not, be delegating. So that's less on you, more on the beneficiary. He or she cannot say, I'm the CEO, I'm the MD, but I don't have time. Please go and negotiate on my behalf. Doesn't work. The beneficiary, the decision maker has to be there. When the negotiations happen, you need to be clinching a lot of stuff there and there. You can't say, okay, I'll come back. Especially, when you are at a situation where it's a hot debate and this is the time to clinch it or let go or something like that. The beneficiary, the decision makers or the people who are authorized should be there, number one. But what is the important composition is there has to be a technical guy all the time. We at times we not give enough importance because we feel like it's all commercial. Commercial is dependent on the technicalities, right? I mean, again, a real life example. I was part of some similar negotiation. We were discussing contract clauses. There was a negotiation happening, and we're talking about creating a hotel, setting up a hotel. Now, the land parcel is next to the airport. Somebody says, okay, I'll create this much, 3 stories, this much, whatever was the number. Looking at the revenue, the cost of the land, the cost of construction was not making sense. There had to be a certain kind of a revenue generated to get the bottom line because there was money being borrowed on interest. So, so many complications. And suddenly I checked with a guy who's an architect, who's like, the technical guy says, but FAR in that area is bigger. And because of, the vicinity, we could have used this thing. And this particular airport, this particular place, the banquets are like, very famous. So why can't we have like, more FAR or, the use of the entire FAR? Why are we restricting in spite of taking whatever permission we require from the airport authority? All that was done. And we go on a site, we discuss, we come back in 10 minutes, we say, why can't we have 2 hotels here? One average 3-star, no frills. One as larger one with banquets and all. We get to cover the entire FAR and certainly 2 different markets to cater to. And accordingly, the design we made. Most important was to use the entire FAR. On our own, as pure finance guys or strategy guys, we were not aware of this thing. But when it became a kind of a hurdle from the other side, then we got into a hurdle and put our heads together. The technical guy made the difference. Yes, as a strategy guy, I had to build on that. But that insight was so important for me. I could not have visualized on my own. So my simple point, it was to emphasize on the fact that the composition of the team, which is helping you in negotiation, requires a finance guy, requires a strategy guy, requires a project or a technical guy, and requires a decision maker. Now, if you are able to say that, okay, my finance guy is a decision maker, we cut down on one of the guys. If he says the strategy and the finance is being handled by one guy, we are okay. But somewhere these inputs are important. We have seen in our life, in real life situations, not everyone is competent all the time on his own. So the inputs you get from the team, which is important by taking care of different aspects of a particular project, the business, the finance, the strategy, those inputs make your negotiations much relevant, much more productive. So this for sure should be. Other point is don't be hasty. We've seen though people at times they don't say, but their body language is so rough. It's like take it or leave it. Right? You may not be saying it, but you probably mean it. Even if you don't mean it, that's what your body language says. And if that is the communication you have through your body language, you're losing out. The guards will be high. Somebody would want to ring fence. This guy is a shrewd guy. He's trying to extract too much. He's very arrogant. He thinks nothing can be done without him. So the kind of proposals which will come from other side, now they will start making this guy uncomfortable. We have seen. So these have been non-starter. Totally depends. Look, on one side it's a demand supply, but then let's behave. Right? And that's where I said, let's be fair, reasonable, so that other person does not feel shortchanged, threatened, uncomfortable. Otherwise, the negotiation, even if it happens, there is something getting missed somewhere, which tomorrow is going to haunt back. That's the only concern I have. Today, you might think that you are a winner. You've got your way out. You've got your clauses in. And tomorrow, you figure out your clause number 8.1 and 20.3 are inconsistent. And if, God forbid, you are in a court, right, it will be a stalemate. Because they had their way, somehow they got that particular clause in, and you got the first one. So equally important, review and revise. Till the time is not signed, it's not done. So we should use this opportunity as well. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you. The questions which are competition format related will be taken at the last by the organizing committee. But with regard to sir, we have another question from Vivek Kushwaha. He says, What are the main essential clauses which cover every aspect or no inconsistency left for drafting a contract dealing with commercial negotiation?
So if I were to read, what are the main essential clauses which cover every aspect? So that, what he means, so that no inconsistency is left. Okay. I'll try to rephrase. We are saying that A, we should not have gaps and we should not be inconsistent with the clauses. So inconsistency normally happens, or for that matter, gap. Two parties who might be strangers who are wanting to shake hands day one for a particular transaction, for a particular deal. One of them might be from the domain, the other party might be like, newcomer. Possible. Or both the parties are exactly a current player, current stakeholders in the same domain, same vertical. They understand, but they understand differently. The reason I say so is, again, for the sake of simplicity, we pick up a real estate case. The very fact that the guy who makes a flat, makes as in constructs a flat, right, versus a guy who develops, right, these people can be different. So, the likes of L&T and Shapoorji Pallonji, the big names, they've been primarily contractors. The DLFs of the world and the Unitech of the world have been Rahejas of the world, Hira Nandanis, they have been developers. You develop a township, the vision, broader sense, holistic experience. What L&T has to do? You want this road? I'll do it. You want this building? I'll do it. You want the A-class facilities? I'll do it. You give it to me in writing? I'll do it. He's looking at bottom-up approach. You keep telling me, I'll keep doing it. I'll do the best. The developer is starting from a macro. I need a Hiranandani at Powai, Thane. DLF says, I want to create a new Gurgaon. What you're starting from? Maybe a hazy picture to start with, then putting colors, making a painting, and then but for those paintings, you need brush, you need a canvas, you need a color, you need a stand, right? All those things you need. Now, these vendors or suppliers or contractors are also part of the same ecosystem. But can you imagine how different they are? They're looking at the same thing. They are both real estate industry members, stakeholders, but they come from different perspectives. They come from different level. Now, when they do an agreement, right, any which way, the contractor thinks, I lost money there. I should keep more margin. This A plus was 2000. I'll take 2500. Totally, both are relevant, both are important, both are intelligent. But the very fact they are approaching the same situation, that they are looking at the transaction from their own perspective, which is always the case, the entire concept asks their own risk managements, right? Their own force majeures, their own fallbacks, their own plan Bs will be different. For DLF, it's about Gurgaon, the new Gurgaon, much larger picture. For L&T, another 10 towers in this project, right? So somewhere in between is an important element where you have to match the risk, you have to match the rewards, you have to match the consideration. Somebody coming from top down, somebody looking at a bottom up approach. So this inconsistency should not creep in, which means depending on the teams. So here we again have to take a step back. First of all is a negotiation. Negotiation is between the two teams. And we have already spoken about the teams or the composition, which is important. So when you have a strategy, the finance, the technical guy, the business guy sitting, and they're jotting it down on paper, this is what it is. This is what we expect from the other side. This is what we are able to do. This is what we expect as our milestones, objectives, timeline. This should be reduced on a paper somewhere, very important. I again repeat, whatever we think is too much, at times not even required. It's all jumbled up here. The moment we start talking, a lot of it gets concise, becomes a bit more objective, and kind of starts taking some shape. hugely important to put it on paper. Suddenly you see it's not making sense. There are gaps. Maybe few questions which have not even asked. Of course, how would somebody answer? So asking the questions and then filling the gaps with answers. So simple point I'm saying is the long and short of what you said was create a paper, a working paper on one side here, and if you're on the other side, encourage them to do that. It's not teaching, it's not giving them secrets, is encouraging them as a best practice. Please create your do's and don'ts, the terms, conditions, what are your expectations, what are your timelines, what do you expect, right? When you have those papers on either side, your discussions are going to be much more objective. And then it will also throw up the gaps. No, these bigger transactions and negotiations do not happen in a day. You get started. It's not necessary you won't get up off, you won't get off the table unless you are done with it. There's always that, okay, we need to take a break. Few questions need to be answered. Few aspects need to be relooked at. Basis the information, the insight, and of course the changes. Now, if somebody has given you some insight, so L&T telling DLF, in Bombay we did this, in your last project this happened, so what you are expecting may not be feasible this time. Fair point. Lovely, great insight. Okay, this we've noted, we need to come back to you. So similarly, you jot down, go back, next week again you meet, and you have also revised basis the inputs you got. So this is a give and take. So now the last important would be letting go and holding on. This is again the crux of negotiation. What would you want to let go? What would you want to hold on? So do's and don'ts also get connected to this is a non-negotiable thing. These clauses are non-negotiable. You want to work with DLF, this is given. L&T will say, you want to work with us, this is given. It's our company policy, it's our board policy. So important while negotiating, these seemingly inconsistent, or they may not be inconsistent, they may just be contradicting. So that means there might be a requirement of a tweak in both of them to come and fill the gap. But otherwise, just a straight, small, sweet answer to inconsistencies was you create a paper, a working paper, putting all your expectations and the queries and the apprehensions and the demands on a paper as a working paper helps the discussion go in a very objective way. Yeah, okay.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I understand that we are running out of time, but if you allow, we have 2 more questions in the chat box.
So let's take a couple of minutes. I mean, at times I'm to blame because, probably the answer could have been shorter, but I somehow want to cover various aspects, which at times, you miss out in the initial session.
The way you're covering all the questions is actually like giving a deep insight of that particular question, and where we might not have entered into thought that yes, this could also be the aspect of that question is being answered.
So that was the attempt. That was the attempt. So I think another 5 minutes should be okay. It's just that you understand the importance of Sunday more than me. So let's take another 5 minutes.
Thank you, sir. So we have one question from Gayatri Rawat. How to be aware of all the laws regarding different businesses? As you mentioned, every business deals with their respective laws. So will it not be very vast?
Absolutely. So it's again, I mean, let me say for the sake of saying that, yes, it's a good question, but it's an obvious question. You only know as much as a point in time. So first of all, you try and cover through the right composition of the team. So when the legal guy sits there, he's expected to know. But I'm also an insolvency professional, right? So in IBC, there is a term, your resolution plan should adhere to all the laws. And my simple question was, give me a list of laws, I'll try and put a take against each. Nobody has an exhaustive list. Okay. Now, this is definitely a concern. So what happens is, that is where I said, let's try and break the answer quickly. One is procedural laws. This is the way it works. This, if it's arbitration, we'll follow arbitration, the venue, the seat, this, that, whatever. Then substantive. So, the GSTs, the income tax, the contracts act, especially. So one is like in a generic line, we all write all the laws of the country because the contract is being done in India, for example. So all applicable laws on a given date will be applicable. So if the government says that a particular law is to be made effective retrospective, even your contract comes under the same. Agreed? Can't do much on a given date because the contract is always signed specific to a date and henceforth it's applicable. So whatever is important to be mentioned, especially requiring the business nuances, a particular vertical. Example I gave again, real estate, you cannot miss RERA. If it's hitting you or directly indirectly RERA is relevant for you, you need to mention. So these are simple mentions. Then of course we say all relevant and applicable laws. But at the end, let's assume that you did whatever you could. You created a list and still something got left out. There has to be a mechanism of flexibility, some clause which gives you an option to tweak your working to suit the context to be on the right side of the law. So no clauses in the agreement can hold you or bind you so much that you would be on the wrong side of law and you can't change. Nothing of that language. So your language has to be neat, simple, clean, brief, crisp on one side. Flexibility means let there be a clause that in case there's a change or a retrospective impact on our business, on our relationship, on the impact of this agreement, and some clauses, some aspects of this agreement become infructuous, we'll have to sit and review and make the amends accordingly to be again on the right side of it. Okay. Now these kind of clauses, this is no rocket science. It's just about incorporating certain flexibility where it requires, because with the best of your intent and your preparation and the competence, you can only do as much. You know what is happening in the market, we covered everything. 3 years, 4 years, Mr. Trump puts a tariff. Okay. Entire thing comes down like a pack of cards. You don't stop businesses. What you do is you sit again and you talk it out. But your clauses, the agreements should allow you. So that element of flexibility is always important. So on one side, we are talking about flexibility, but the two relevant clauses which give you flexibility is one is the risk management, where you say, okay, something goes wrong, we sit and we talk, and then the conflicts, because essentially any changes they result into differences and then they become conflicts and disputes and all. So you should be very clear that okay, we'll have a dialogue, we'll have a negotiation, we'll have a mediation, and then we'll go to other ADR, which is adversarial ADR, which is arbitration, and finally of course the courts will take care of it. So if somebody says yes, it needs to be adjudicated, then in any case we need to go to arbitration or to the court. So how do you put that flexibilities? How nicely you frame your risk management clauses and the conflict dispute resolution? That's the way to do that.
Yes. Thank you for that, sir. We'll take last question from Namrata. In case of negotiation between small independent companies and giant conglomerates, in light of our case files between a studio and a distributor, should we include protection clauses for the smaller companies?
Look, it's again, the way I said, on one side, demand supply. Similarly, the the power imbalances have to be incorporated, but only as much. You cannot be sitting on a negotiable table with a company 10x of your size and say, I'll have it my way. So we need to be aware of the realities. How one can be smarter is how you incorporate your process to take care of the potential value which will be created going forward. Today, what you have, that I'm 1/10 of my counterpart, right? I might have to give in something. That is where I was saying letting go and holding on. So if I think if I remember, there is a content which is available, right, with the content possessor. And if that be the case, there's already an agreement. You must have taken the content from someone basis those agreements. Your current agreement cannot be inconsistent with that one. So you're bound. So few things you can do, few things you can't. But with regards to content creation together, that is where the negotiation will be much different. So it will be a two-phase negotiation. One, the content which already we have, but that's a legacy content. We even acquired from someone at a cost with terms and conditions, with do's and don'ts. But something what we do together has to be negotiated differently. At that stage, you'll have to see who has a better control. If you have actors, you have the wherewithal to create the content, and the other party is more on the distribution side. Maybe one can look at a 60-40, right? So, and then you can also have a graded mechanism. You say, okay, we all will learn in the process, but for the first 3-4 years, I might have some advantage because of where I come from. So why don't we start with 60-40, 75-25, depending on whatever. And these are I'm not going into details, so I'm not giving you an answer from that perspective. I'm just giving a perspective. So if you evaluate both the sides and somebody you see is more dominating in this more competent, right? As where with our more strength. So why don't we give them the benefit for the initial few years? After that, people will learn the tricks of trade. The gap will be much reduced. And then when they'll be almost like, after 2, 3, 4 years, depending on again the time negotiation and everything, then we'll say, okay, we'll be at par. So everything which will be done will be like, jointly done. All expenses shared equally, all revenues shared equally, and then we'll have a happy life, whichever way. So again, no one size fits all. We've come across situations where a smaller company had their way. They had something which was their USP. So the bigger guy had to say, guys, I need you. I'm willing. The only problem is these are managers of conveniences. So you have to be smarter in terms of binding each other. To what extent you want to what extent the other party is willing to. You might say through this clause, I've done that. But at the back of their mind, the very fact that they're signing a particular agreement is because they also have a clause which they put, which you are not able to recognize today, but that'll be their exit. Right? And hence, any inconsistency can only be brought out if you reread, revise to the extent required, and only after 1, 2, 3, 4 because I myself have seen again from my experience. I read something quickly 2, 3, 4 times. I'm not able to figure out the mistakes. But if I take a break of a day or something, and then again with the fresh mind, again I see the same document. I say, how could I have been so foolish? There's a gap here, there's a gap there. But it's only, fresh mind, a more stable, take a break, come back. So these things are important. At times we think that we can overcome, but there's a lot to do with the psychological factors. So accept that as coming from someone like me, as in, just being around for a while, that it makes sense to be fresh with a calm mind before you get into these sessions. These can drain you in terms of your energy, and they can test you on your patience. So whenever these kind of tweaks are there, or you think that you are being like sidelined, short change or something, take a break, take adjournment, come back 2 days later, and then you have to convince the people, right? You just can't walk out. You have to convince the guys. I think we need to rethink. It's interesting, but maybe I'm not able to kind of put pieces together, right? That's something which has to go from your business guy. Right? Everyone should be together, right? One team has to be all in sync to the extent you can. So from that perspective, the bigger outs, the small company is only one aspect. The strength, the weakness, today, tomorrow, and day after. All these factors are variables. So what happens again? Letting go somewhere and holding on somewhere. So this delicate balance, I wish I could give you a mantra or a secret. That is not available. It only has to suit the context. And there's always like, you walk out of the room after signing the agreement, somebody will say, guys, I cracked it, I got it. Somebody could have been better, but that's okay. Till the time you signed, executed without a gun on your head, I think you've done a decent job, and that's about it. And then some learnings for the next similar session. So yeah, that's it. Are we good?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your time on a Sunday evening. And I think I learned more than what I expected, and I have heard you thoroughly throughout the session. It
Okay.
was an enriching experience to learn for about deal negotiation, the tips and tricks, the skills that one should keep in mind while sitting for a deal negotiation, because that's the basic, that's where we start forming or entering into a relationship.
Right.
So what key points do we need to keep in mind while entering into a commercial relationship, especially, is what the students, the participants of Taac has learned today. And probably they will be keeping this thing in mind when on 9th of August, they'll be sitting for the deal negotiation and contract drafting rounds.
Perfect. Chaliye,
Yes.
so I wish you all the best, all of you.
Thank you.
And I hope, some things will be a good takeaway for all of you. And otherwise, I'll be reachable through the organizing team. If there are any specific queries, then on a
Definitely.
best effort basis, I'll come back to you. Okay. So I wish you all the best and
Thank
take
you.
care. Thank
Thank you,
you.
sir.
Bye.
Bye. Participants are requested to stay back, please. Yes. Thank you, dear participants, for being here with us for the longest time today. Before we dwell into the questions asked from the organizing committee, Faris will be sending a poll on the group, WhatsApp group that we have, to choose the mentors. The clear instructions for all the participating teams are: one person who will be the POC from that particular team will choose the mentor. You still have 1 minute. It's 5:27. If you want to decide, yesterday you have got a pool of mentors list. We have additionally 2 more mentors there, Mr. Aditya Aryan and Ms. Swati Saxena. In case you have any discussions to be taken amongst your team, please do it right away. We'll give you 3 minutes to choose your poll, and after that, we'll log the same. It will definitely be on a first come, first serve basis. So if you choose, say, suppose you choose Mr. Aditya Aryan first, and then you serve to, or you think to re-choose Ms. Swati Saxena again, so that your timing misses out there. So please rethink that what mentors do you prefer while choosing. One mentor can take maximum up to 40. So voting should also be taken care by, while you will also be able to see who which mentor has been taken care, like it has been taken care by 4 teams, then definitely you don't have a chance over there. So be very particular, be very specific. All the mentors that we have chosen or we have brought in the panel are qualified. They have trained, they have coached multiple teams, and they do have the expertise and experience in doing such trainings. So please be assured that any mentor that you have on board would be guiding you the best, would be helping you the best throughout this competition. So teams, if you are ready and if you are ready with your discussion internally, I'd request Faris to push the poll on the WhatsApp. All right, so the poll is live. One person from one team, please do the needful. We'll wait till 5:30 and then we'll take up the questions that we have. Guys, if you see that one person has been booked by more than 4 participants, please see for the other mentors. As I said, everyone is a qualified pro over here, so please take care of that. Okay, now since the poll is live and you guys are voting in there, just a simple instruction. Soon we close this session today, like within 5 to 10 minutes. We'll open the WhatsApp group for answering or for chatting for everyone. So like everyone will be allowed to write it over there. So we request for a feedback from every team member. If every team, one team POC of that team will write the feedback on behalf of whole team. That also specifically marks your attendance for the session that you have taken, and we will also be able to understand at what we should take care in the future sessions that we are going to come up. So once we are done with today's session, more or less in the next 5-10 minutes, we'll be wrapping it up. So we have one question from Shushant who says, what is going to be the format of deal negotiation? Like, how should we start? Opening statement, then after we should do, etc. Can you please elaborate on that part? Yes, Sushant. So definitely, when you will be sitting for deal negotiation down, it would be hard. It would hardly last for 45 minutes plus 15 minutes of feedback. In that, you need to start with a opening statement, which would comprise of your part, like which part you are representing. We'll be releasing the side of the parties by tomorrow, like which part you are going to sit in the competition of the deal negotiation. So therein, you would be representing that particular time, that particular side, and you would state that who you are, your background and all that would comprise your opening statement. We have written in the rule book that from one team only one client and one counsel is allowed to represent in that specific round of deal negotiation. So please decide amongst yourself that who is going like you have already logged your roles, but in the 5-member team there are two counsel. So one counsel and one client will only appear in the deal negotiation round. So please fix your role and accordingly we'll proceed with the opening statement and then you will sit and negotiate upon the points that we have given in the case file. If you'll see the case file, there are already pointers mentioned on which you guys need to negotiate upon and then enter into the contract draft. Next, we have Shambhavi. Sir, there's no dispute after the negotiation. Is the process of mediation and arbitration just skipped and we directly move forward to contract drafting? No, Shambhavi, it's like in the deal negotiation and a contract drafting round. Once you will sit and enter into the deal negotiation, you'll finalize the terms of contract that you're going to enter into. After you finalize between the parties, each party will be drafting a contract and submitting to us. Post that, the organizing committee will release a dispute. Then you will sit for the client counseling and the further rounds will start: client counseling, mediation, negotiation, arbitration. To be noted to all the participants that till the deal negotiation and contract drafting round, there is no elimination. However, the scores would be counted in the client counseling round. So from the client counseling round, the elimination will start. The client so it would be an exclusive score starting from the very beginning, from the deal negotiation round, contract drafting, then the client counseling round. So it would be a combined score of all of that. From client counseling down, you will be the elimination will start. Harmanpreet, the rule book has been released for stage 1. It's already in the team master drive folder. You can check the WhatsApp group. Everything is being updated over there.
Ma'am, also can the admins please pin the, drive, Google Drive on the WhatsApp group?
Google Drive on the WhatsApp group. It's there on the
Yes,
WhatsApp.
I mean that I know it's there, but so to access it.
Your voice is breaking. I'll reshare. It's the viewing access given to everyone. I'll reshare the sorry.
Ma'am, what I mean to say is if you can just pin it on the WhatsApp group so that it will be, better way accessible to us in a
It's already pinned.
Yes, Manya, please reshare that. Yes.
Okay, I'll share it again.
Harmanpreet, the question, will the case file remain the same? Yes. This is where the competition starts. From now onward, it would be the party would be Cinevolt and the other one. And from here, you will be entering into the contract drafting stage. You'll be sitting for the deal negotiation, contract drafting, and therein we'll be starting with the dispute release. First stage, client counseling of any dispute, wherein you sit for the client counseling, you do the client counseling. So the rule book for the client counseling will be released subsequently. So we are releasing the rule book stage by stage so as to you also have a better clarity and you are not confused between different rounds. So stage wise we'll be releasing the side of the parties, like which team code is going to represent which side of the party, will also be released by tomorrow along with the team matches and the meeting minutes. All right. Next, the phases given in the case file 1 in comparison with the important timeline is quite confusing to me. Abhay, can you unmute yourself? Abhay, if you're here in the meeting right now. Yes, please, can you please elaborate on your question?
So the important timeline which is given to us, in which all the phases are given, in comparison to that, the case file which is given right now, in that it's mentioned that there will be a 30 days of like a 30 days of summary or 15 days of timeline is given. that in 30 days there will be this, and in 15 days there will be this in the case file.
That is a model dispute resolution clause.
Okay.
Right? That is a dispute resolution clause that you will be incorporating in your contract. So every contract has a standard dispute resolution clause, right? So this is a dispute resolution clause that has to be incorporated in all of the contract, irrespective of the competition format right now.
All right.
Yes. Any other question? You can raise your hands, guys. Put it in the chat box first, and then we'll take. I'll wait till 5:40. Manya has circulated the drive link again on the group. If anyone has not received the same, please do let us know right now. We'll do the needful right away. When will our mentors be assigned? Yes. So let us also go through the poll that you guys have chosen right now. Once the organizing committee sits by tonight, we'll be assigning the mentors. We'll be informing the mentors too that which team code has been allotted which mentor, and accordingly, you will be in directly touch with your mentors for further guidance. So this assigning of mentors will be done by tonight. Any further questions, anyone? Okay. So may I request everyone to please come on camera for a final group picture for the day, if possible for everyone. Maximum would be appreciated. Manpreet, for any other detail to us, should we do it with the OC or the mentor? For competition format related query, you can reach out to Manya, Khushi. They are your team buddies for the whole competition from the organizing committee. But if with regard to technicalities, you can reach out to your mentors once assigned. Will we have to draft the contract and send it to you on the same day as deal negotiation? Yes. We have been specific about the clauses that we want in the contract drafting, so it won't take long to draft the contract. By 9th of August, when you'll be having your rounds, within 24 hours, you have to submit the draft, post which we'll be releasing the disputes. Okay. So, Deepthi, if we have maximum one on the camera, can you please have a picture? Yes. Thank you guys for being a part of the Stack community. Welcome on board to all of you. We
I
hope
need
that
need a
yes.
minute to take the photograph because I am not able to minimize it in a way. I can see one photograph that is huge, and then only 4 or 5 of the others are available.
Okay, so I'll do that. Yeah.
Ma'am,
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
actually there is one more question by Ankit. He is asking, in elimination, will the whole team will be eliminated or the individual only?
This question I'll pass to Saurav. Saurav, if you're here.
Hi team. Pratisha, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
So first, for deal negotiation and contract drafting, there is no elimination as we said. Secondly, there is a client counseling competition on the basis of client and counsel will be eliminated. And then we have neutrals. So they will be taken individually. If both both the parts are going on the same platform, then it will be the final team will be selected on the final team's evaluation. Means you should have the mediator, client counsel together reaching the stage, the final stage. So in client counseling, we start with the first elimination round. So yes, client and counsel will be eliminated. However, we'll keep the mediator for the mediators round. Is there
So,
any?
sir, with will the score be normalized, or like will it be take?
I didn't get the question.
Like, sir, as in like do we have to individually reach as a client and counsel as well as a mediator? And what will happen in case of the client and counsel reach the stage, but the mediator doesn't? Then what will happen?
So after client counseling, we have mediation and negotiation rounds, right? In the mediation negotiation rounds, we'll evaluate the total team. Then only it reach to the final, means the arbitration rounds. Is it answered, Swam?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right, so we have one last question. Could you please all tell about the participation of a researcher? So basically, the participation of a researcher starts from the round of arbitration mostly. But even in the stage of mediation, there are planning and simulation that has to submit it. Therein also the role of researcher would be specific, wherein they would be helping in doing and planning and drafting of the simulation. But majorly the role of the researcher will start from the rounds of arbitration, and their scoring would be mostly done from there, as like the traditional arbitration competitions. Daksh, yes, we'll send about the flow of the event, like how the elimination will happen on the group itself, for a better clarity for all the students and their participants as well. Okay, so I think we are done with the questions. Any questions, guys? If you have Manya, you have Khushi, who are your team buddies from now for the whole competition of 3 months. You can raise it to them. If they are not able to answer, they'll raise it to us, and we'll be answering them within 24 hours or shortly as we can. So we are ensuring a smooth communication between the teams. If any of your team member has not been added to the WhatsApp group, please make sure that they have been added to the WhatsApp group, because mostly the communications will be made there in itself. So that is one thing that one should be noted. Mentors will be assigned by tonight. Their details, communication details will be shared with the team members shortly. All right. So thank you everyone for participating. Thank you for being a part of the Taac family. We welcome you on board, and we hope that we are giving you the experience that we have imagined in our head, that the whole ADR experience to the participating team. Let's do it, guys. All the very best.
Thank you, ma'am.